You're listening to a Time Machine podcast. Old Movie Time Machine. An adventure through time and or space. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Old Movie Time Machine. This is the show. We're watching movies of a specific era. They're older ones. We prefer that they are in color. It just makes it more engaging for us in modern times, and so on and so forth. We're checking out the culture that we find within these movies through our modern eyeballs, which is what we have going on right now. This week, this is Jay-Z, by the way, here as ever with Shrishma Naik.
Hello.
Katherine Sherlock.
Hello.
And my sister and yours, Carolyn Naoroz. Hey, sis.
Hey there.
Welcome back to the program, you guys. Hitchcocktober is over.
Oh.
But today, happy Halloween. That's when this episode comes out. It's Halloween, everybody.
It's Halloween.
We're all dressed up as we do. I'm dressed up as Zorro, as I will do. Shrishma, what are you dressed up as right now?
I'm still cold.
I'm sorry. I don't...
Don't you remember this from a couple of years ago?
Yeah, this one's been going for a while.
When I was like, hey, ask me what I am for Halloween.
Oh, okay. This is a runner. I had no idea that we had an open runner that I was not aware of. I haven't been tracking over the many episodes.
I think it might be the first time I've aired this joke.
Oh, okay. So there's no way necessarily that I would.
But you would have as a friend of mine
Somebody
over the past.
in real life, not
Right.
in listener land. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Do you want me to set up the joke again?
No, actually, let me just give you another prompt. We'll keep all this in, but we're going to do one clean reading in case we decide that we want to keep that one only. Okay. So anyway, I'm dressed up as Zorro, as I will do from year to year. But hey, Shrishma, what are you dressed up as this year?
Cool. No, you're supposed to say, what are you for Halloween this year?
Oh boy.
Hey, Shrishma.
This could take some time.
What are you dressed up as for Halloween this year?
No dressed up.
No dress.
What are you going as for Halloween?
What are you
I feel like I
for
said dressed
Halloween?
Yeah,
the
what
first
are
time.
you
You
for
still-
Halloween?
Okay. Hey, Shrishma, what are you for Halloween this year?
I'm cold. Brr.
Slam dunk. Hey, Catherine, what are you dressed up this year for Halloween as? Dressed up as? What are you wearing? What are you for Halloween?
I would probably just break out the old fox head and bushy tail.
Classic. It's a classic one, actually. I was going through some old photos recently, and I found a picture of you wearing said fox head. It's a great look. Timeless. Evergreen. Hey, sis, what are you dressed up as for Halloween? What are you wearing for Halloween / what are you for Halloween?
I am going as the Queen of Evil and going as Maleficent.
Wow.
Oh,
Very
wow.
fitting. Very fitting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So Halloween costumes out of the way. It is what the kids call nowadays spooky season. That wasn't around when I was a kid. Spooky season. That's fairly new. I feel like that's within the last 5 to 10 years.
With the SZN.
And that's even newer, I think. I feel like that's like within 5 years.
Right.
I think. It's a great hashtag to use, though.
It is.
Very productive. Hey, it's Old Movie Time Machine. We are watching today something very special, something near and dear to my heart. Carolyn, I don't know where you are at with this particular movie, but we're talking about 1966's Munster Go Home today. This would be one of the infamous movies that we had recorded onto a VHS tape with like 8 other movies.
Oh,
Super
yeah,
long play
favorite.
edition.
Definitely
So
a
yeah, Carolyn, do you remember this at all? Like, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I almost didn't watch it because I know it so well and I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you still enjoy it.
yeah, I do.
Okay. I do feel like that's a critical part of this because, again, we're going to be busting through nostalgia, but also not really, because I will tell you up front, this isn't a great movie. This isn't, it's not that good. You know, like
It's
there's
not
nothing
earth-shattering.
extraordinary about it, but it's also a lot of fun and very colorful and brings out good Halloween vibes. But yeah, this would be one that we grew up with. I mean, this I remember this forever. I remember, again, like not unlike something like Ghostbusters or Ghost of Mr. Chicken, this would be formative for me as far as like even line readings have been programmed into my mind. Like this is the way that a human expresses this thought or emotion or whatever. They do it the way that Terry Thomas does at Munster Hall.
I mean, that was going to be my question to you. I guess you would have watched this as a child.
Yeah.
So that's probably where like your, as you guys have said, the nostalgia attached to it kind of lets you watch this movie all the way through.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So should we do one-lines? Let's do one-lines and then we'll come back around to, because I mean, Catherine, I've got major questions for you about you, your culture, Hollywood's perception of your culture. This is where this and Mary Poppins are where Carolyn and I would have learned most of what we currently know about the United Kingdom and its people and culture. But hey, Shrishma Naik, do you have a one-line review for 1966's Munster Go Home?
Can we have the Addams Family back?
Oh, zing! Wow, extraordinary. We're going to come back to that. Hey, sis, do you have a one-line review for 1966's Munster Go Home? This Halloween season?
My one-line review. It's just a great spooky romp through fake English countryside.
We're definitely shooting MASH while we make Munster Go Home. Oh my God. So much MASH in this movie. And yeah, romp. That's the perfect word for it. This is totally a monster romp, if ever there was one.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the hammer. Katherine Sherlock, do you have a one-line review for Munster Go Home?
Kind of. Confusing, but funnily enough, not terrible.
Whoa, that's a sterling endorsement.
Almost the touch of the warm and fuzzies.
Whoa.
Wow.
Almost. Just because I had completely forgotten that we used to have the Munsters in the UK.
No shit. Wow.
Watch it on the telly. I don't believe I've ever seen any of the films. But yeah, the TV show, that was definitely watched in my household.
Okay, I love to hear that because I mean, same at the Zeppa household as well. I mean, this would have been on pretty constant rotation because when we were growing up, when you hit the late 80s, early 90s, you have Nickelodeon is running Nick at Night pretty heavily. So that's where they would just show. They would buy these packages of like, let's get every season of Dennis the Menace and the adventures of like Dobie Gillis or whatever. And we'll just run those like 4 hours every night. So they would have the Nick at Night block party. So like it was like Munster Mondays and then like Gilligan Tuesdays or whatever. And then it would be like all night long. You could watch these shows. It's fantastic. Before that, I mean, we had this movie on tape before all that, though. So
this was a mainstay for you and I, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is I think we've talked about it at length by now, but like, I'm a monster guy. Like, I really like Frankensteins and vampires, and like, I like all this shit. Right. And so this is where a lot of that comes from, but it's also really silly. I think it works fairly well for children because like. The main character, Herman, is an adult and also a big, scary Frankenstein who has like superpowers, but he has the mind of a child and like the attitude of a child. So he's a good gateway
character. The joy
of
a child.
And the joy of a child. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Like over everything. He's like, woo.
He's delighted. Yeah. Always doing that like hand thing.
I feel like if I watched this movie as a kid, I would be in the same position as you guys. Okay. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're kind of like certainly if you're a serious person at all, or if you like appreciate fine cinema, this is not.
I'm none of those things.
That's
it was
true.
just too silly for me.
Yeah, it's
as a could see at the age at which I'm coming into it.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious.
It's almost like the original dad jokes.
Yeah. That's true.
I think this probably, I mean, especially for our generation, this informed a lot of dads' senses of humor. That's how we got to like dad jokes, maybe, is because, our dad would have been 10 years old when this movie came out. So that's like prime time for
them to pick up.
Like, okay, this is the humor that we're hearing. This is what culture dictates is funny, well, then I'm locking it in now. And so interesting. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it's a lot of, the opposite of like classic idioms, but like with a more death tinged take on it or whatever. So, but let's get back to the Addams Family aspect of it, because the Munster starts as a TV show that like runs parallel with the Addams Family on a different show. So Addams Family is based off of a cartoon strip or panel that had been running for many years of this like weird gothy family.
Right.
And the show, I believe, was a hit. I'm not sure. I think Addams Family, the show, came first, if I'm not mistaken. Should have done research, but again, this is Old Movie Time Machine. We don't do that here.
Do research.
I'm fucking busy, all right? I got stuff to do. We're just talking. We're just enjoying. We're just soaking it in, all right? And just passing on these half-truths that have been picked up over the years.
But I do know there were movies, because I've watched all the Addams Family movies.
Well, the property, I mean, it was just the show for ages. And then in the early 90s, right. It's Barry Sonnenfeld, I think, does the remake.
Yes.
Very popular.
With the Christina Ricci.
Oh, I mean, like super crush at that age for me. Had like major marketing push with like MC Hammer's on the soundtrack. And there's like a Addams Family music video that he's in. There was a Addams Family cereal at that time as well. And then they made the sequel, which is arguably better than the original, Addams Family Values.
Yes.
And now they have rebooted it since then, I think. I think there was a cartoon.
There's a show on Netflix now, Wednesday, which is based on the girl. But I guess my nostalgia is more associated with the Addams Family than it would have been with the Munsters.
That makes sense, because so the Munsters, I think the idea was like, hey, we're Universal Pictures. We own that makeup for all of, they made the Frankenstein movies, as we've talked about on a different show, which we'll plug later, I guess. But they own trademark for this is what a Dracula looks like. So a traditional widow's peak and the red and black cape, satiny cape, like they just own that image outright, basically. You can't use it the same way. Same thing with the Frankenstein. Anything with the electrodes on the neck and the flat top, that's all owned by Universal. So they're like, we have the rights to these classic, what everybody associates a Wolfman to look like we own it. So like, why would we not? Here's a crazy idea. What about the modern age, you guys, and like the nuclear family? What if we made a family of monsters trying to make it through the modern age? Huh? Does this work? They tried it. It didn't really work because it only lasted 2 seasons, I think.
Okay.
2 seasons of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they just like folded up shop. It was like, this is too goofy.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess the Addams Family had more longevity to them, or maybe the characters were more iconic.
Well, okay. So
what do you think that was?
You would be surprised because they've tried to reboot the Munsters at least 3 times over the years, and it's never worked the same way. So in the early 80s, they do a sequel movie called like The Munsters Revenge, I think, or Munsters Return. So, and it's all the same cast and everything, except for Eddie and Marilyn have been recast because they're not age appropriate anymore. They've grown up. But Herman's back. Fred Gwynne is back. Al Lewis's grandpa is back. Yvonne Carlo is back as Lily. And they do this whole like mystery at a wax museum, but it doesn't work. It's very 80s, early 80s TV movie kind of vibes. And then in the early 90s, they tried to do a like reboot of the show. And they did a couple of episodes. It doesn't take, so then they shelve it again. Then in the early 2000s, they tried to reboot the show with Eddie Izzard playing the Herman Munster role. And they did like a pilot and a half for that, and it doesn't take. And then I think last year, Rob Zombie made a whole Munster movie remake that was on, I want to say Netflix or one of the streamers. Okay. And that didn't do anything. People don't give a shit. I didn't
hear about it.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Apparently, the world has rejected the Munsters since 1966, basically. Like they tried really hard to get the Munster plane to take off. So
it's like it didn't do so well.
That's your crash course history. And meanwhile, they did reboot Addams Family. work. Right. People do like that.
Well, look at all that research without actually doing any research.
That's just off the dome, people. All right. Well done, Thank Justin. You. Thank you. That's why we do this show, so I can use this somewhere. Catherine, do you have any UK? Carolyn's so proud.
That's my big bro.
My brother.
Okay, guys, let's get into this silly ass movie. Catherine, I was going to ask you UK trivia for the Munsters that has been missing.
No, I mean, my dome has nothing to offer. I'd forgotten that this had even existed. So,
okay. Well, what's special about this movie, if you grew up watching the show, and Catherine, you will know this, is that the television show is in black and white. Not unlike the original Addams Family show, also in black and white. So to see this movie come out, which came out after the show technically like wrapped up, to see all these characters in glorious, gaudy, super saturated 1966 colors, fantastic. Still holds up. The whatever print that we're watching these days that's circulating, it looks beautiful and garish. It's a garish romp, you guys. There are a lot of colors in this movie. But let's do a little bit of our recap here. The ghoulish Munster family, a bizarre collection of Frankenstein, vampires, and other monsters, learn that they have inherited an English title and estate. They are delighted and book passage to the UK via cruise ship. Once on board, they get seasick, transform into wolves, and fall in love with handsome race car drivers. Little do they know that their English relations are plotting to murder them so they can inherit what they believe to be rightfully theirs. So Shrishma Naik, you're the newest to this. You're the freshest to this scene. This movie starts. You go in knowing very little about the premise of the Munsters in general and like the whole like, what if there was a family of monsters, you guys? It's as simple as that. Talk me through your experience watching the beginning of this movie. What are you thinking? How? Because you have to like wrap your mind around, there's a Frankenstein out there who just has friends and a job and a mortgage. Right. And
I mean, to be honest, the concept of a monster family wasn't so, because I've seen the Addams
We've
family,
seen it. Right? Yeah, true.
So,
okay.
And I know that, I've seen your Frankenstein movies 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't expecting so many Frankensteins. I think the main guy was a Frankenstein. Can't remember now.
There's only one Frankenstein.
But like the dad, the grandfather,
Grandpa Munster.
Grandpa Munster. Yeah. He was a Frankenstein.
No, he's a vampire. He's a Dracula, and his daughter Lily is also a vampirette.
Okay. I changed my mind. Yes, there's only one, but they all like look so funny.
It must have been interesting for them because like I said, they only shot the pilot of the show in color and the rest was black and white. So they would have had to have figured out like an actual, like, well, what color?
Green.
What color is Lily's skin? I mean, like what? She's supposed to be dead, right? Okay, cool. And then you're like, what? And Eddie Munster, he's a wolf man. That's always been the great mystery of the Munsters is how do a Frankenstein and a vampire get together and make a little baby wolf man?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Okay. And Carolyn, I'll tell you right up front.
Monster genetics.
I don't have any answers for you.
Yeah. Is it more like
crazy mad science?
Maybe it's more like they like adopted him from the shelter?
Could be. I haven't brushed up on my deep Munster lore in quite some time. All evidence to the contrary.
If he's a dog boy, a wolf boy, maybe he was at the local shelter and they just picked him up.
Could be. But also let's keep in mind that Grandpa, he's got a laboratory in the basement, as we see in the movie. Like they really do give you a lot of the high points of the show in the first 10 minutes because you do see Grandpa's lab. We do see Spot the dragon who lives under the stairs. Like these are all critical pieces to the television show.
Yeah.
But we know Grandpa does a lot of spells. They tend to go haywire. It makes for great plots of 20-minute sitcoms. So the one in particular that I'm thinking of is the love potion. Mm-hmm. You're going to throw a love potion into the mix of these ghouls, like sparks will fly. Right. And they certainly do, you guys. My Fair Munster. Highly recommended. I have a copy of it. Just email me. I'll send it to you.
But are they in a world of monsters? Are they like the Munster family in a world of humans?
They're just in a world of humans. This is what we don't see in the movie, but what you would see in the show is Herman. It's like the comedy of the show comes from Herman the Frankenstein showing up
at a normal
man
right.
places. So like at one point he tries out for the LA Dodgers. Like he's on like baseball field, like doing baseball tryouts. And like, because he has superhuman strength, he hits the baseball like 3 miles or whatever. And people are really, things like that. But yeah, it's Herman joins the bowling league, or, Herman does this. And that's the show basically.
I realized upon watching this with old David Time Machine.
There he is.
I have married Herman Munster. A man who laughs at his own jokes and just it has a childlike sense of wonder.
I'm an English lord now.
You're totally right. I mean, I know old David Time Machine. That's right? Spot on.
I'm like, that's my husband.
Yeah. So you were really vibing with everything that Herman was putting out in this movie.
Particularly when he was like seasick in bed. I won't. I'm like, okay.
Okay. Yes. Well, and let's just get there. So the first third of this movie is on this cruise ship where it's just like, what if there was a family of monsters and they went on a cruise? Like that's the whole premise of 40 minutes of this movie. Yeah. What do you think?
No, I mean, it's so like the plot is quite funny because then like suddenly one guy turns into a wolf because he ate the wrong
that's
pill.
Right. That's Grandpa. Again, spell's gone wrong.
And then I lost track of what was happening, what they were up to at each.
Okay. So the long and the short of it is that they inherit.
They inherit,
right?
They inherit the land in England.
Yes.
And then they're going there to go home. They
do some real sweaty plot fixing of, gee, Mom, why are we going to England? I thought Dad was built in Germany, which is the traditional Frankenstein myth. And then she has to go through this whole but then he moved to England and was adopted by the Munsters. And that's why we don't call him a Frankenstein anymore. So
I think I missed that part.
It's blink and you'll miss it. I mean,
interesting. That's they've given some backstory.
They're trying. I mean, this would be, if I didn't mention that, it would be something would be like, what the fuck's up with this? Going to England? Right. What?
And then there's some people in the England house that are trying to get them out.
Yes.
They have some
Hermione Gingold and Terry Thomas, who we just recently met. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, Catherine's favorite movie.
And I don't really think the personal rancor is going to help the situation, if I may say so.
And her favorite performer, Terry Thomas, your countryman, of course, Catherine. He is, again, Terry Thomas looms large in my young adult life because both of those movies, I watch them all the time. I watch this movie all the time. So Terry Thomas is, I feel like I know him personally almost. But yes, they are scheming and they are rotter monsters. They're scallywags. There's a lot of shenanigans with them. They're sort of gothy and Addams Family-esque in their own way, but not literal monsters.
Okay.
No, they are in their personality. They're not monsters, but they are They are horrible people.
Monstrous.
Yes, and
they are the real monsters.
They are indeed. Yeah.
And they're really good at it too. I like all these performers. I can't remember who plays Grace, the sister, but she's literally hissing at characters at times. I mean, it's great stuff. And Hermione Gingold, we saw her in Bell, Book, and Candle. She was one of the master head witches, and she plays Lady Effigy Munster, which, I mean, fantastic name. Lady Effigy. This is incredible. And they are puppet mastered by this character called the Griffin.
The Griffin.
And every time we hear the Griffin mentioned, we get a little music sting, which is very amusing as well. And the Griffin is just some shadowy figure who sends advisory notes on personalized stationery to the Munsters at Munster Hall in Shropshire. And they have decided that the way to get rid of Herman and his family, because they, of course, feel like they should be inheriting Munster Hall, their home manor. And Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I see Munster Hall, I feel like this is the type of background like you came from, that you grew up, everybody in the UK grew up in a house like this, an old heap like this out in the countryside, out in the moors, perhaps. Did any of this ring with you?
Oh, yeah. No.
I mean, yeah, it is the most Hollywood version I mean, the sets are fantastic. Munster Hall as a set is incredible. It's all tapestries and battle axes. And, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but like mid-century medieval hipness, these are just legit suits of armor and everything. Although, Carolyn, you on the mid-century medieval bit, you will maybe remember this. Our great-grandparents had like a mini suit of armor next to their fireplace.
Yes.
That would fit in mid-century medieval, I think, that aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like a piece of, we've got a suit of armor, obviously. Duh, pull it out, put it next to the fireplace.
Our family goes back so far that we've got our own, of course, family suit of armor to go along with our heraldry, and that's why we have this on display. And to be fair, like if I had access to a suit of armor, it would be on display, I'm sure. It's only a matter of time.
I'm sure you'd be in it, to be fair.
Well,
definitely.
Catherine, fair. That's a fair point.
Just off to the shops.
That's actually so true.
It is.
There he goes again.
Yeah.
Old clunky.
Again, huh? Okay. But look, let's go back to the Griffin. The Griffin's like, we want to scare these people away. So that's the whole thing. Fear. Fear will drive them. Fear. And meanwhile, on this cruise ship, it is, like I said, what if they're Munsters taking a cruise? Herman's very into being Lord Munster. He's got this big jacket with spangly letters that say Lord Munster on the back. He's really feeling himself, but he's also
I'm an English lord.
Seasick type of fella. So we get some of that comedy. And then, yes, Grandpa transforms himself into a wolf by mistake, gets locked up into a kennel, and they kind of break him out. So it's just shenanigans. It's an episode of the show, basically. Okay. Then we get to the UK. We see, I mean, again, this is all shot in California.
Are aeroplanes not functional in this time?
Oh, no, you would have had access to planes.
But I think they took a ship.
I think probably just for like, we got to pad out the script a little bit. Maybe be a guess.
Or maybe they just couldn't afford the plane?
Well, I mean, they wouldn't even have had to show the plane. They would have just been like, oh, what a flight, or they could have shown the map, the Indiana Jones.
I'm not sure that Herman would have actually fitted on a plane.
But guys, this is a great idea for our reboot, which is, what if there was a family of monsters and they took an airplane to somewhere? What if a Frankenstein flew on an airplane? Wouldn't that be uncomfortable for him,
I mean,
but comedic
just fly
for us?
First class? Because then all the leg room you need, baby.
I mean, maybe. What if he's working class like a Munster, like a Herman Munster? We can't afford that stuff. Just think about it. We'll spitball some ideas for when we do our pilot script for our Munsters, which is inevitable, right?
Inevitable.
Okay, let's move
like
on.
Thanos.
Yeah, exactly. Like Thanos, we are inevitable. Hey, everybody, we're breaking in here with our ad break as we do, just checking out some of the fabulous selections over at our TeePublic store. The link is in the show notes. You want to check that out. It is, of course, the 31st of October right now when this is being released. So we have to blow out all this Hitchcocktober merchandise. We've got boxes and boxes of the Hitchcocktober logo, and we need you guys to order all of it. So I don't know if there's a sale going on at TeePublic. We should know that. Maybe we'll keep track of that better in the future, but just let's assume there is. It's got to go. It's priced to move, people. So we need you to go check out the Old Movie Time Machine Hitchcocktober cover with it's a play on our traditional Geiger counter United Nations look, but it's got more birds on it and more ghoulish apparatus involved as well. And so you can get that. I'm gonna get a notebook. But I'm going to get the nicely bound one, not the spiral bound one, because I'm a lefty, so it's hard to write across those spirals. But if you're a righty, the spiral's perfect for you. So you definitely want to get one of those. Shrishma, what would you like to get?
I would like to get a cup.
Oh, okay. Maybe like one of those insulated guys. You can get that. Yeah. Guys. Oh, it's available for you on the TeePublic store. So check it out. Carolyn, I know you've been hammering me with text about sort of collectible buttons, the pins that you put on.
Yep.
You probably want to get one of those, right?
I would.
For your jean jacket.
The other thing, just because the weather's changing, I'd like a crew neck sweatshirt.
Oh, I think that's available for you on the TeePublic store. If you check it out, the link is in the show notes. So maybe that's the time. And Catherine, I don't know, like you've been talking a lot about a hooded sweatshirt, one of the big ticket items. But my question is, do you like zipper or no zipper with your hooded sweatshirt?
I do enjoy a zipper. It does make it more flexible, but I'm also a big fan of like the non-zipper, especially as Caroline said, it's getting colder and, you just want to be cozy, cozy around the house kind of thing. Yeah. So maybe.
Catherine, I've got a great solution all lined up for you. Why don't you get one of each? And that way you've got all your needs covered, because I know you're not alone out there. And those of you who follow Catherine's path, you as well, please get at least one of each, if not two or three. Because once these are gone, I don't know if they're coming back, you guys. I have no idea. I don't know who's in charge of the TeePublic store for Old Movie Time Machine, but those products are available for you. And they're, like I say, the price to move, and you should be dressed for movement too, which these things can help you with. So do that. And if you do buy 1 to 3 of each of those, we will thank you, as we will do right now. Here's a test run. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now back to the show. The English Munsters' attempts at scaring off the American clan fail spectacularly, but the Americans have trouble gaining acceptance by the locals who loathe the family name. Meanwhile, the pub check talks up a secret at Munster Hall, puppet mastered by a shadowy figure known as the Griffin. This inspires Herman and Grandpa to investigate, and they sneak around and discover that their English cousins have been counterfeiting money. So, I mean, the big plot mover here is what's happening at the pub, as we find out later that everything comes out of the pub.
I imagine that's where they go to like find out what's happening, like catch up on
definitely
events and, like news and breaking stories over. But I mean, everyone's just on their phone now.
Yeah, the pub would have been the internet. You're absolutely right. I mean, because especially in the countryside too, when it's kind of like a haul to get anywhere of any distance, like if you can have a central gathering point where you need to pick up some info, or you can pick up info if you need it, then
the hot goss.
Exactly.
Was going down.
Tea.
That's right.
Is that where the term came from? Spill the tea?
Hot goss? Spill the tea?
Because they were all in pubs drinking tea.
That's what that's where you do it.
No.
You should drink pints, so no.
Yeah. Listen, I love the fact that we're dissecting pub culture in the modern age. And if we have further thoughts, please share them, because there's not a lot of meat on the bone for Munster to Go Home. Okay. Like we were talking about this before rolling tape. This is a very silly monster movie, a monster family movie. There's really set pieces, some good jokes, some bad jokes, but
I think it gives us some important things to talk about, like transatlantic sailing culture.
Yes. Sure.
The drunk man that's constantly looking for his wife, Emily.
Yes.
And mistakes Herman for Emily.
I wonder who she was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And pub culture, and also English manor house life.
Well, okay.
And local sporting events like road races and
certainly.
And,
Well, so let's on the manor home tip, let's talk about, I think, probably my favorite sequence in this movie. I think it's my favorite from childhood, because kids are always thinking about things like this. I think maybe I was anyway, but like the sneaking around in the house scene where Herman has to like sneak out of his own marital bed, like behind his sleeping wife's back, to go sneak around with his father-in-law to go figure out what the mystery of Munster Hall. What's the secret of Munster Hall, you guys? But it's just great sneaking through and through. They're wandering around. They've got torches. Again, we're seeing all of the great wood paneling of Hollywood's Munster Hall in Shropshire by East Gasping or wherever they were at.
I just was always so like enthralled with that moat that they had to like monkey bar over.
The acid floor. Yes. Thank you. I mean, it's on my list of things to talk about. You're absolutely right. I mean, like, it's so compelling and so terrifying because it does look like almost like documentary footage taken from like the overhead where you see the stuntman making his way over the acidic moat that's boiling and bubbling and everything.
But that was always like, to me, I was like fascinated with that as a kid. Don't ask me why. And not necessarily like out of fear, but just like, how cool is that? I
was terrified. It was so scary. I mean, whatever that stuff was, it was going to kill them. And the fact that the pipe then like kind of comes down a little bit and they're hanging over it, very scary. Slime on the walls, great stuff. Tapestries. We've got the hidden passageway through the fireplace to get down there. And then we finally figure out what the secret of Munster Hall is. Shrishma, do you remember the secret of Munster Hall? What's the big...
Is that the money they were counterfeiting?
The counterfeit money, that's right. So we've been seeing these guys, Alfie and the other guy, I can't remember.
Bruno.
Couple of, let's call him Bruno for all intents and purposes. Two blokes, right? Two definitely blokiest of blokes. A couple of lads out there driving their truck around.
They reminded me of Cruella de Vil's blokes.
Yes. Is there wait, did I say Jasper already? Is there a Jasper?
There might be a Jasper, but that might be Cruella de Vil.
Okay, yes. But they're the same people. Again, flat caps. If we're doing the hat index, this is 66. So our hats have definitely been on the decline. However, we are pretending to be England in this movie. Right. Therefore, we have a lot of the more traditional squire, like woolen pork pie shape, like real short brim type of thing. And also the flat caps too, of course, like very famously, you know, if you're going to go to the pub, go down pub, you're going to wear your flat cap, your, sell some newspapers and then go get a pint. So we're seeing a lot of that as well. Very tweedy. Felt kind of bad for these extras, especially when we get to the race car scene, but sitting out in that hot Southern California sun wearing all that tweed must have been very uncomfortable shooting conditions, I imagine.
Was it me imagining things, or were these like really bad British accents? Or I was just like...
Well, this is a great question. I had the same...
Or was it British accents?
Well, I'm not sure. I think definitely some of these people are native English actors, right?
Right. Some of them.
Some of them, I think, are definitely not. And some of them might be English, but maybe putting on like a bit more mustard to the accent. Catherine, what is your take? You should be able to sniff out a rat here, if anybody can. Like, what's the ratio? Who's faking? Who's not? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, they were all a bit fruity, to be honest. So they were definitely pushing it, just like the house and the decor.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an English lord now.
Somebody like Lady Effigy, Hermione Gingold. I mean, we've heard. I mean, she sounds like the Freddy boy, Fred. But the rolling of the R.
Rolling.
I don't know if that might be for the stage. I would think. I don't know if
definitely. Yes.
Okay. And again, also during the sneaking scene, just to swing back on that real quick. While they're sneaking around the house, there's an interesting scene that I found kind of heartbreaking that I've never felt this way about before. But when little Eddie Munster can't find his pop to kiss little Woof Woof goodnight, he goes to cousin Freddie's room, played by Terry Thomas, of course, delivering another sterling Terry Thomas performance. He's amazing. But he asks him to kiss his little dolly goodnight, and Terry Thomas responds with, well, I mean, I'd rather not. Or something along those lines. And he's like, well, then would you kiss me goodnight? And there's this really long pause where he's considering like what he wants. He doesn't want to do either. And it's made me really sad for Eddie Munster. Like, come on, cousin, kiss your cousin,
little baby.
Kiss your little boy goodnight. Let him go night-night. But I don't know. It was just really brutal. I've never felt that way about it before, but seeing it was like, this is mean. This is cruel to this boy who's grown up in cruelty being a kindness, like, because it's opposites world. Because Shrishma, what if there was a family of monsters? Like, what would that be like, right?
I mean, it'd be great.
Yeah.
But, we don't live in a very tolerant world.
Well, that's true. And if for our reboot, maybe we start addressing some issues of prejudice and like being different.
Right.
Maybe that's how we make it hip and modern. That's One of these reboots has to take, well, maybe not, but I would like it to. And it should be ours.
Maybe you should dress up as a character from the Munsters.
Okay. I mean, I've certainly Frankenstein in the past many times. Oh, yeah. Frankenstein.
Okay.
Of all my...
Never mind.
I don't know if you've noticed, but there is a theme in a lot of the programs that we do around Frankensteins. Right. And it's because I love Frankenstein. So.
I feel like you've told me this before.
Yeah, I even wrote a little book about it, an extended essay about it called Frankenstein Operator's Manual. It's available on Amazon. You can get it right now for 99 cents, I believe. Okay, Marilyn Munster is treated shabbily by new boyfriend Roger's parents, and Herman is called upon to defend the family honor in an annual car race. This is a plot by the cousins to frame Roger for Herman's death on the raceway. Succeeds, but they forget that Herman is an undead Frankenstein, so he escapes unharmed with the help of Lily and Grandpa. The Griffin is revealed to be the bartendress Millie, and the Munsters decide to return to the States happier than ever. So I guess we should talk about Marilyn and Roger and the Moresbys. So Marilyn is named after Marilyn Monroe, of course. So the joke of Marilyn is that she is a traditionally beautiful young woman of the Marilyn Monroe model, and the Munsters, being monsters as they are, they feel bad for her because they think that she's ugly, because through their monster eyes, you get the idea, right? Jokes are always 10 times funnier when they are explained. So anyway, this carries through this movie. We get a couple of those sort of, well, she's your sister's kid. Like nobody in my family looked like that. But she falls in love with this guy, Roger, on the cruise ship, he's got a little little hot red racing car, and they have a little smoochy romance, but he's being kind of flaky because he keeps seeing Herman and then telling her about it, about some frightening creature that he's seen, and she doesn't understand that it's actually her uncle. And it's all misunderstandings, you guys. I mean, this is the basis for so many great sitcoms. And the sitcoms, as we know, are the basis for so many great films.
That's true.
No.
Well, some not Munsters, clearly.
Yeah, I would be hard-pressed to give you one that's improved upon. I haven't watched the Beverly Hillbillies starring Jim Varney recently, but I have downloaded it.
Now that you say it, I'm trying to think too.
Think about it. But we find out later that Roger is Roger Moresby of the local Shropshire Moresbys, who are on the neighboring lands of the Munsters, and they have had an ages-old feud, these two old family names. So they think the Munsters are scumbags. I mean, they're not wrong. And the Munsters hate the Moresbys because they are traditional, and the Munsters spit on tradition by being kind of gloomy and ripping off the Addams Family a little bit, but English style.
Right.
So we find out this is the third act of this film, is this car race. So, and this was another very exciting moment. Like if you're a kid, you like the vroom vrooms, and you're going to like a car race and anything, right? So the fact that, hey guys, what if there was a Frankenstein in a car race? Right? I mean, we got ourselves a third of a movie with that idea. So
not just a car race, a car crash.
And a crash, multiple crashes. They are racing all over the many back roads of Southern California's English countryside, and a lot of mishaps happen. So they build this car, of course, out of the Dragula, very famously, Shrishma's saying no, built out of a coffin and pipe organ, exhaust pipes. And it's a real cool looking, it's got a spider web design on the windshield and everything. It's just kind of an amazing race car. And Herman does look amazing wearing all black leather with like his goggles and everything. It's a great look. And he gets into all kinds of shenanigans racing this coffin around town, including upsetting a couple of lovers, a couple of amorous English traditional countryside lovers who have a bit of a hay fetish, it looks like, because they keep climbing into these bundles of hay being trundled across the countryside to smooch. They're fully clothed, so it's all over the clothes stuff, whatever's going on there. But like, they cannot get in the mood without being poked at by all of this old straw, I guess. So that's a recurring gag. We see that a couple of times, and we're laughing our asses off.
Did you laugh as a child?
Yeah, I love this stuff.
Did you laugh when you watched it as an adult?
I think I laughed one time last night when I watched this.
Okay.
Like I enjoyed it. I always enjoy. I'll never not enjoy it.
Okay.
But I think something did make me actually LOL.
Okay.
But otherwise, there are shenanigans with the English cousins. Of course, they're queuing all this up, so it looks like Roger will have killed Herman in an accident. The Griffin has replaced Roger with a mysterious driver wearing Griffin-themed gloves, driving gloves, and so it's a lot of like, let's try to, make Herman crash on the countryside.
Right.
Meanwhile, Grandpa and Lily have been captured by Freddy and are tied up. He does a very bad job of guarding his prisoners, and they escape almost immediately and have to chase down Herman to let him know that he is in peril. And but it doesn't matter, like I say in the summary, because he's a Frankenstein, so you can't break him, guys. Sis, Catherine, do you guys have any comments, deep thoughts, deep emotional attachments to the race car driving scene of Munster Go Home?
I did wonder how the horse was keeping up, but there we are. Perhaps Caroline.
Oh, that's true.
Answer that one.
Yes, because they are on horseback, very realistic horseback, shouting at Herman and while he drives his race car. It's a great point.
That's why I always liked this scene, is because I was like, yay, horses as a kid. I was like, this is great.
Right. This is the high point for Carolyn, of course, a young Carolyn Naoroz, is Lily and Grandpa get on horses. They become horse thieves. It's good fucking shenanigans, you guys. It's monkey shines. It's just a Frankenstein driving a fucking car and crashing it, breaking. Look, the most offensive part is arguably at the end. This is where the wheels fall off of this movie, if ever. And yeah, race cars, whatever, it's a joke, maybe, question mark. But when Roger's his pit crew, quote unquote, accidentally spill oil all over the track, it's just two guys pushing over a big barrel of oil in sight of everybody, apparently, because Roger's dad can see it from the grandstand. He points it out like, oh no, look at that. They've spilled oil everywhere. But that is egregious. Like, there would be some kind of inquest, or like, let's do the race again, or this is nonsensical what you've done here. And also expensive. What a waste of perfectly good oil. A big old barrel of it. Also, why do you got a big old barrel of oil just next to the racetrack? Very confusing, you guys. Maybe it's not a bulletproof movie. Maybe it's not.
Maybe. Just maybe.
But maybe it's still 10 out of 10.
I feel that if I, took the time machine and went back to like 5 or 6 year old Shrishi and made her watch this movie, she would definitely love it.
Okay. I mean, that's about as ringing an endorsement as I can expect at this point.
Right.
Well, okay. So
I would have to say that I think that it requires, like, everyone's got some like goofy group of movies that they
exactly
like are ridiculously emotionally attached to. Ours happened to be on VHS tapes, and it was, Ghost, Mr. Chicken, Munsters Go Home, and It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, the source of all of my anxiety.
Yes.
I mean, I made you guys watch Mr. India, remember?
Right? That's right.
That was my childhood, like what I watched it growing up. And like, as I watched it, I can see how you guys watched as an adult and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
And same for it's the same thing. I mean, there's no way that this is going to translate into entertainment beyond the pure schlock factor of like, well, the nostalgia on one hand, and on the other hand, I think this does. The Munster still lives on in the heart of a certain strain of gothy individual who likes this shit and feels monsters. Like, I feel monster vibes. And there is a subsect of people who feel monster vibes and they like this. And it's comfort food, though. It's like something your mom made when you got sick.
But I also like monsters have gotten like more sophisticated over the years. Like, if you're into monsters, you have a big choice to choose from.
Yes, well, in
2023,
and more so, they serve as metaphors for larger either social issues or personal issues.
They're just misunderstood. They're saving the day. I mean, we've got a broad spectrum of monsters.
Right. But there's no real subtext here, guys.
I will take Gary Oldman as Dracula any day.
He will cross oceans of time.
Yeah, he can cross ocean. That movie, I would be like, bye guys, gonna go be immortal, live in the castle.
Yeah, same.
I was gonna say, even if you showed a kid this movie, like today's child, this movie, I still feel they'd enjoy it.
I think so too. I think it's very cartoony. Yeah, it's like real life cartoons.
It's almost, it's slapstick too slapstick for,
Well, they're using a lot of like the classic comedy techniques that you would see in like a Looney Tune. Like it's very colorful. Number one,
almost like reminded me of Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah. Well, and they're playing like ramping up the speed. Sometimes they're doing like special effects that are purposefully cartoony, especially when the English cousins are trying to scare Herman and Lily away. Like when they first arrive and they start, like showing all these skeletons in their bedroom and stuff like that. And I love that
scene. I love how delighted Herman and Lily are. That was the scene I was like, I married, like that and the stuff on the boat. I'm like, I married Herman Munster. This is my husband. Like,
yeah. And it is pure joy. I think you said it best. Like
so delighted.
So delighted. Yeah.
They have hidden panels.
Right.
They've tried to make us feel at home.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how I tolerated this.
Catherine, I'm surprised too.
I am not. I mean, slapstick. I just can't stomach it somehow.
Right.
Cartoony. Yeah. No, really can't. So I think it was probably little silly things like sliding. They've got sliding panels, and that kind of that joy.
Yeah, and the fact it's kind of self-aware too. It knows that it's being silly, doing cartoony humor, but at least it's doing it well, I guess. Is the timing is all right there. They're not doing it poorly. It's not like
I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. So now we come down to the part of the show where we ask our vital, ultimate question that's everybody's been waiting to hear, which is, hey, you guys, this movie that we just watched for Halloween this year, 2023 on Old Movie Time Machine. I mean, how do you come down from Hitchcocktober? You do it with Munster Go Home,
Munsters.
1966. That's right, Carolyn. You're absolutely right. Munster Go Home is the solution, medicine you need to make it easy transition out of beautiful Grace Kelly's and so James Stewart's. But Shrishma Naik, the Munsters, Munster Go Home. Do we keep watching this thing?
As a human in 2023, at the age that I find myself in, I would say no.
It's fair. It's totally fair.
Understandable. Yep. Not offended.
Not surprised at all. Don't even have to question it. Don't even but why, Shrishma? But why? What makes you say that?
But if we could get in a time machine, go back to like 1990, leave the tape at my house, I feel like this answer would have been different.
Okay. Well, so, I mean, look, I don't want to sculpt too much the answer here, but like for a particular age and vibe.
Yeah, I think, from like 0 to 6.
Okay. Specifically late October, maybe a couple weeks late October.
I think you could safely add it to a of like Halloween staples that you could show children. This one, Hocus Pocus, like, a little bit scary, but not too scary.
Great shout out to Hocus Pocus. Another one, I mean, again, I think succeeds in kind of the same way that the Munsters movie succeeds, but like definitely perfect Halloween vibes, just the color and feel,
Agreed.
But, right. Okay. It's fair, Shrishma. It's totally fair. I'll accept it. I'll even embrace it.
Okay.
Carolyn Naoroz. Munster Go Home. Do we keep watching this thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Delightfully entertained like I was as a child. This is, you realize, also one of the reasons we call our mom Mumsy.
Yeah, I guess that's true, isn't it?
Because
absolutely, because they call Lady Effigy
Lady Effigy Mumsy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mumsy.
and I kind of watched it and I was like, oh, that's like Justin and I like plotting murder. That's fine.
Yeah,
we're those siblings.
Well, and we did those. We did those voices. We liked those accents. We were very drawn to the talking like Terry Thomas, Hermione Gingold.
It
was a very weird house to grow up in the United States of America in the 1980s and 90s. Katherine Sherlock. The real question here.
Yes.
1966 is Munster Go Home. Do we keep watching this thing?
Yeah, I think despite me not hating it, I think it's probably still a no, because I have no interest in ever watching it ever again. So just purely selfishly, no. But I very much appreciate that perhaps it should be around for kids and so on. Okay.
That's a very fair, judicious response. Okay. I mean, and like I say, same thing with Shrishma. I mean, I get it. This is goofy as shit, But it's Halloween, you guys, and we are celebrating it. So last bit of business before we set up next week, we talk about this thing, the Boom Room. It's our Patreon page. You can go sign up now for like $2 and get our first 50 episodes, double length episodes, no ads. And you should do that. And then when we get that cranked back up again, you'll be first in line for the new stuff that comes out. But we gather artifacts from these movies that we watched during our time travels, and we bring them back to modern times to place in our museum, the Boom Room. Shrishma Naik, what do you want to put in the Boom Room from Munster Go Home?
I don't remember, but I didn't think of anything. But I do remember him having like this mobile laboratory kit.
Yes, in his little bag. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And there
are so many great things.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great prop.
That's a great one.
Portable laboratory. He's just got to check his portable laboratory. Hold on. Carolyn Naoroz, what would you like to put into the Boom Room?
So there are two things that I'd really like to take.
Okay.
The first being the fruit basket from
yes.
I don't know why. I've always had an obsession with it. I mean, I know, one of the apple was,
With the we're talking about a fruit basket that was delivered to the Munster family on the cruise ship with a bomb in the apple that was delivered from the English cousins. They were trying to kill them on the cruise ship.
Right.
And I'll tell you, when that scene showed up last night watching this, I just reflected on how much I love a fucking gift basket. I'm a real sucker for a gift basket.
I love a gift basket too. I think especially when you're like, I don't know what to get you, just put together a gift basket. It's a great thing.
Some nice cheeses, some of that, some smoked summer or something like
sausage,
that, a little salted caramel.
Guess what you're getting for Christmas this year?
Oh, I mean, I will be so ecstatic to get it. I mean, Michael Scott from The Office is not wrong when he's like, these mean something. When he was like trying to get back his old clients, like people love a fucking gift basket, and I'm no exception. Okay, so you got that.
Puzzle and a gift basket.
I feel like we should maybe put those gift baskets also in our gift shop too. Like you could buy a Munster Go Home gift basket, with a ticking green apple in it.
Stick a little T-shirt in there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is good. This is a strong idea. Katherine, what would you like to take from Munster Go Home and put into our fabulous Museum of Mid-Century Life?
I was going to go for the laboratory in the basement. The whole thing.
Oh, just the whole lab? Sure. Yes. Why not?
Good one.
Okay. Grandpa's laboratory. And seeing Grandpa's lab in color, it is pretty thrilling after only seeing it in black and white for a long time. And for me, I would take anything from this movie. There's so much, so many amusing signs, a lot of funny signage from the Shroudshire pub sign to the,
I was thinking of the pub signs.
Water closet.
I also wanted the Griffin gloves.
Carolyn, you read my mind.
Okay, I was like, I love them.
Griffin branded gloves, the driving gloves. I want those because it was the Griffin if you're a kid and you hear that music, that dong, that sting, right? The griffin, that should be a drop. We'll have the griffin sting, I would imagine. We can use that whenever we want to. But to hear that sound with the logo, what's kind of chilling, it does sort of tap into I'm scared of whatever this mysterious iconography is. So yeah, griffin driving gloves. We got it. We have done it, you guys. Munster go home. I think it went as well as I could expect it to go. Let's set up the next.
Cool, you've just brainwashed me. My likes are your likes. Yep. I don't have different opinions.
I mean, maybe a little bit. I can't say I didn't. You just happened to be around, and I knew how the VCR worked.
I was collateral damage.
The real
fine.
Imbalance of power there is that somebody knows how the VCR works and somebody doesn't. So let's set up the rest of November here, though. So next Wednesday, this is coming out on a Tuesday for Halloween. Happy Halloween. Be safe, but enjoy the shit out of it, everybody, by the way.
Brush your teeth.
And do that as well.
Check for razors.
Don't even introduce that. That only happened in the movie Halloween 2. It's very, very silly. This November, we're going to be doing a series that I'm going to call very cleverly Old Time Movie Machine, where we're going to watch movies that were made in more modern times, but are set back in the time period that we look at of 1945 to 1965/1966 this week. So we're going to start next week with a movie called The Vast of Night. And this came out in 2019. And I'm really excited for everybody to watch this, to like make you guys watch this because I really love this movie. I thought it was really well done for like a small budget picture. Not to bias, if you don't like it, don't like it. But I think people should know about it and check it out because it's really good. So let me give you the log line here. One night in New Mexico in the late 1950s, a switchboard operator and a radio DJ discover a strange audio frequency which could change the future forever.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that's The Vast of Night next week on Old Time Movie Machine. We'll see if that sticks, see if I remember that. But until next time, thank you so much, team. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Shrishma.
You're welcome.
You're the best in the biz, my international panel of experts. We love you. We respect you. And we look forward to hearing from you next time.
Hey, bestie Kyle.
Oh, yeah. And shout out to our bestie fan, Kyle, who was very excited about the Rear Window forthcoming episode. Hopefully he enjoyed that, Kyle. That one, that's for you, buddy. So again, if you want to write to us, please party line at oldmovietimemachine.com. We have a very sterling record of writing back to you. So if you have questions, comments, suggestions, any good recipes, or Halloween costume ideas, please send them party line at oldmovietimemachine.com. And until next Wednesday, thank you so much for listening. And please, for the love of Herman Munster, never forget that this has been Old Movie Time Machine.